What do all of these orders from end of last week have in common? I'll give you a hint. It's pretty bullish for tech. And as we can see here on this chart, I have a QQQ, so NASDAQ, and there was a rejection on Thursday. However, if we zoom out beyond the 15-minute chart and actually go to the daily, and then I'll show you the weekly, this is pretty bullish at the moment. We spoke about in the previous video how we had a very strong reaction to this higher low that formed over here. So far, you can see the major low that formed on August 5th, and then we had this higher low over here on September 6th. This is characteristically bullish and a clear indication of a valid uptrend that can last for a while whenever you have a strong higher low form amid a larger pullback or correction like we saw to start off August. Well, right now we experienced some type of a minor rejection up here around the low 490s to end last week. However, one, flow is very bullish, as I showed you with some of those crazy prints from last week. And then two, what I really want to show you based on the technicals, this green box here, it may seem insignificant because it's pretty small, but this green box is everything. And this green box is the deciding factor if I cut or continue to hold my QQQ calls. So right now, I am in QQQ calls from last week. I added before this breakout, actually. It was after I had confirmation of this breakout of this falling wedge. I was able to continue up a lot higher with a nice gap up, and then it went all the way back down to fall to this green box. So this green box, like I said, going to decide everything. If for whatever reason we fall below this green box, especially Monday or Tuesday to start off the week, that is not a good sign. I have to cut the existing calls that I have. I was able to trim some after it went all the way up for this nice gap up, but I'm still holding the other half at the moment. So I'll have to cut the rest of them for relatively break even or maybe a slight loss for that other half because of the Greeks, since they've changed a bit since I entered that original position. So that's the contingency plan if this were to fall below. But if it stays above, which is my expectation here because this has been very supportive, valid demand zone so far, if it can stay above, this can have continuation to my target of 500. That's what I really wanted to hold my calls for. I have October 18th calls, so I have a little bit extra time on them. It's not like I'm trading weeklies. My main target is 500 on those. I believe it is possible we can get up to that level just based on how bullish this structure is here. Also, like I said, flow has been very bullish all of last week. Even just Friday alone, if we look at any of the major tech players like Nvidia, we can see there's quite a bit of green throughout the day. One of these whales actually bought 200 strike calls on Nvidia. Mind you, it is at 120 right now. That's the current spot price, and they had the strike for 200. These are pretty far out leaps, so that is the caveat since they don't expire until 2027, but this is still very far out the money for 1 million in premium. Also was an opening order because the volume was over the open interest. So some crazy stuff happening in terms of tech flow. And really, if you look at anything else too, like Tesla has been going up for quite a bit. You could see a lot of bullish flow here as well. 1 million for this 290 strike for the 1025 expiration. So a month out, but for the 290, that's pretty far out the money, guys, especially for a Tesla call because it's carrying quite a bit of IV. So this one also opening order, volume size was over the open interest. So a lot of these calls hitting the tape on Tesla, it's shown relative strength as well compared to QQQ falling. You can see here if I go to Tesla, I know I have a lot of lines, but a nice inverse head and shoulder breakout over here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, boom, a huge breakout. And so far, it's getting near to this previous high that was set. And if I get above there, then I can really fly, I really have continuation. And all of this happened, all this relative strength happened while QQQ remained dormant around the last 2 days when it fell down. So a lot of good things surrounding tech so far, but it needs to hold this demand zone that I showed you. So very critical. If you want the exact level of this demand zone, you can see here, it's the low that formed on Friday. So from over here, this would be 45.50 roughly, all the way up to the body of this candle over here. You could also extend it just a bit. If you want to get this wick, that's not a bad idea. I just have it from the body, just how I like to draw it. This would go up to 486.40 roughly. So about a buck range on this, but we do want to see it hold above here. Everything looks bullish to me, just based on QQQ as well as other tickers. And speaking of other tickers, want to share Microsoft with you guys because this one is the main thing that I want to share in this video. This is an interesting setup for a variety of reasons. One, if we go to the daily chart, I want to show you a pattern that's called the dragon pattern. It's pretty rare, especially on the Mag 7, but what we have here is a low that formed kind of similar to that QQ low. Both of them are intertwined to a degree. And then we have a higher low over here, just like QQQ again. This is the dragon feet or claws, whatever you want to call it, whatever a dragon would have. But these would both be the feet of the dragon. This would be the wing and then kind of like the arch of its back up here. And then we have the head that is forming in this flag formation up here. So it kind of resembles a dragon. And the point of why I wanted to share this is because the last step of a dragon setup would be the fire coming out of its mouth, as you can see from over here. When the fire comes out of its mouth, you would expect price to continue much higher for that breakout. So we have that first low that formed, higher low that formed, that's bullish. On top of that, it's on a clean demand zone. It's been respected many times in the past. And then we have an aggressive move to the upside. It starts to flag. And after that flag, you want to see that final breakout continuation. And then after the breakout, it starts to consolidate for a bit. But the main reason I'm sharing this is because I want to catch that breakout move. And the best way I can catch it is by waiting for confirmation above this blue line. So this blue line is the downtrend, the local downtrend, started on Thursday, September 19th. You can see it rejected hard over here a couple times in the 50-minute, also rejected on Friday over here. And now starting to base again, if we can see a breakout above, especially over 430.51, that pivot. So right around this area here, and I'll draw it out just to show a bit easier, but anywhere around here, especially Monday or Tuesday, if it breaks out above, we can see this go a lot higher. This is hot on my watch list. Definitely am watching for this to happen, but the only way this can happen is if QQQ stays above this range. I find it very unlikely Microsoft can break out and have that continuation move from the dragon pattern if QQQ falls below here, because if it falls below here, it's not just going to stay dormant around this 483, 484 level. It's most likely going to fall a lot more after, just because of how critical this range has been so far. It's acted as demand zone now for 4 tests over the course of 2 days. So definitely needs to hold. Otherwise, this will drop down before basing again, and then maybe gives it another shot at a breakout. So definitely want to see this hold for not only that QQQ setup that I'm in right now, but also for this potential Microsoft setup as well. So waiting for that downtrend breakout. Always want to wait for the confirmation of these downtrends. Don't want to trade it below since it can chop around and lead to fake outs. So waiting for that confirmation, but above, definitely interested in this, and I will continue to hold that for a large move. Based on the flow from last week, I didn't see anything too insane on this. This is not anything crazy on Microsoft. We can also check over here for just the entire week. I have it filtered, by the way, for this 500,000 in premium. So really nothing crazy yet. I'll continue to watch it. Typically you see like a lot of sweepers come in and try to grab the momentum if it breaks out of the downtrend. But since it hasn't broken out of the downtrend yet, no surprise to not see any type of aggressive flow, but I'll continue to watch it. Always a good thing to focus on. Decent amount of dark pool prints though from last week. So could be sizing up for some type of a bounce. Regardless, I am interested in the setup for this week. And then last thing I'll actually mention is Nvidia, because this received a ridiculous amount of flow last week, guys. It was crazy, really. And you can see here, similar to the downtrend theme of the other tickers, we can see that there is a valid downtrend here as well. There's a couple ways that you can draw this. Technically, the best downtrend would be this one right here. The reason I drew it there is because this is the first high that forms. This is a lower high. You want to start your downtrend from the high and then go to the next lower high and then create it there. However, because of this consolidation over here, I would argue the best fit downtrend now would be this here, because the high of day on this day, also both of these days, and then it rejected every single time after. So I'd argue this is the best downtrend. So if we can get above, kind of like it attempted on this day, Thursday of last week, if we can get back above, this can continue a lot higher. This would be a clean downtrend break. Plus there was a higher low similar to QQQ and Microsoft, which makes it bullish as well. So waiting on a breakout over here. Flow's been off the charts bullish, really incredible from last week. I'll show you, it's the last thing in today's video, but really was incredible throughout the entire week. Like, look at all of this green here, ridiculous, 2.2 million, even though it's in the money for some of these strikes, still a crazy amount of premium, 1.6 million out the money for the 127 strike. And this is carrying even more implied volatility than Tesla, and Tesla's already pretty high on the IV chart anyways. So really incredible flow all throughout last week. Definitely looking for some type of breakout move, because if that happens, I'm willing to trade with the trend, even though it might seem like it's overvalued at the moment. Doesn't mean it has to matter for a trade setup in the short term. I definitely am interested in trading with momentum, since that has worked really well this week, especially for something like Nvidia, because we've seen a lot of clear trend and momentum moves like back here. Regardless, as always, appreciate you guys watching this video, and I'll see you next time.